It was only a few months ago that a chunk of concrete fell out of the ceiling and into the pool at the Vancouver Aquatic Center. Not the first time it's happened. It's just one example. Let's discuss now with my guest, Kareem Allam. He is running to be the mayor of Vancouver with the Vancouver Liberals. Kareem, thanks a lot for coming on today.
Thanks for having me on, Mike.
You bet. Thanks for doing it. How bad is Vancouver's parks and rec infrastructure right now?
It's a complete mess. Our estimates as the Vancouver Liberals is that we're looking at about $20 billion to $25 billion worth of debt and deferred maintenance on our entire system. So as the Auditor General's report has stated, 72% of our facilities are at a poor or very poor condition, which means they're at the end of life. We have community centers that were built in the 60s that have not seen a single dollar of new renovation money go in. But this has been a pattern that has occurred, and we've gotten here as a city over the course of the last 20 years.
You're promising a $1.35 billion program to fix the problem. That's an eye-popping number. Tell me what you would do with that money, $1.35 billion.
Yes, that would be over a 4-year period for the next capital cycle. The previous capital cycle was $550 million. So what we're looking for is an extra $850 million for the park board from council. And there's a series of things that we intend to do to enhance the investments in these services. One of the things that we're going to look at is the issuing of bonds. There are some bonds that, if I issue, might generate $1 million worth of interest payments and interest charges to the city, but it might save me $1.5 million later on down the road in deferred operation costs. So, for example, a new swimming pool is cheaper to operate than an older swimming pool. So if I can save the taxpayer money by issuing a bond, I'm going to issue bonds. So one part of our plan to close that $800 million gap will be issuing bonds. Another part of that plan will be applying for federal grants, and the federal government has been a great partner of municipalities, and we're estimating that we can get between $50 and $100 million from the federal government for some of our community centers and for some of our pools. But the other thing that we need to look at as well, too, is we need to start looking at where it makes sense. Not in every case. We need to start looking at P3s again for the city of Vancouver. These are public-private partnerships. We're going to need an injection of capital dollars and also recover some of these costs through user fees.
Okay, user fees. All right. I didn't hear you mention anything about taxes there. So Ken Sim, the mayor, of course, you're running against Ken Sim to be the mayor. He, of course, has famously brought in a tax-free 0% property tax increase this year. Are you saying that you would raise taxes as well to pay for this?
Ken Sim is not bringing in a 0% tax increase this year. What he's done a sleight of hand. He's actually increased utility fees by more than any other mayor in the history of Vancouver. So our utility fees this year are going up by 9.5%. Meanwhile, he's shifted over from one pot of money to another pot of money. So you could say he's raised property taxes by 0, but he's in fact increased utility fees. I don't think these kinds of games are fair when you're running into campaign to hoodwink the public like that. So for him to say that there's a 0% increase in property taxes this year is just simply not a fair characterization of what's actually happening.
Do you have any concerns that if Ken Sim is reelected and gets a majority on council again, that he could potentially privatize or sell off some of Vancouver's parks? This is something that's been brought up as a fear that could happen in Vancouver. It's something that Ken Sim has repeatedly denied, of course, but is that a possibility? Is that something you worry about?
I'm 100% worried about it. One of the things that makes the park board so special is that if you want to sell a park as a city of Vancouver, you need a 2/3 majority vote on park board and you need a 2/3 majority vote on council. So you have this check and balance to ensure that only in special exceptional circumstances would a park be sold. By getting rid of the park board, you've now gotten rid of that one check. Ken already had a supermajority, so he already had the 2/3 votes he needed, and the fear was getting rid of the park board would have allowed him to go out and sell with his supermajority all the land that he wanted. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that half the parks in the city of Vancouver are actually not permanent parks. And the things that keep them from being developed is the park board. Spanish Banks, for example, is not a permanent park.
Okay, let me play a clip here for you from Ken Sim on this point, because I've talked to him about this, and he makes a pretty clear denial here that he doesn't want to sell off these parks. Let's listen.
People can be, feel very comfortable in the fact that parks are going to be protected for parks. Special interests just can't come in and buy up a park if they, control a council and the mayor of the day. If there was any proposed transaction in the future, you'd have to have unanimous agreement amongst all the councillors and the mayor of the day, and then you would have to put it through a referendum.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a pretty high bar to clear. You'd have to have unanimous consent from the mayor and council and a referendum. You're not buying it?
Well, he's already broken that promise. Mike, I'm a huge Whitecaps fan. I used to be a season ticket holder. I'm a big Vancouver Canucks fan. And we've got 2 agreements that were negotiated by Ken Sim in his office behind closed door with the Canucks, with the Whitecaps, to give off park lands for the use of a Whitecaps for a stadium and for the use of a practice arena for the Vancouver Canucks. And he didn't even hit that bar. He didn't even bring the motions to council. It was negotiated in secret. So I want to see the Canucks stay. I want to see the Whitecaps stay. But you can't say that you're going to have 100% vote on council to make this happen and then go and negotiate these deals in secret. So you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Kareem Allam is my guest, running to be the mayor of Vancouver this fall with the Vancouver Liberals. Let's just get back to your parks promise for a second. $1.35 billion here to improve park and recreation infrastructure over 4 years, as you mentioned. If that goes through, if you were to deliver on that, what would Vancouver residents notice? Like, what would they get for that money?
About $600 million of that $1.3 billion would pay for a new kids pool, would build a brand new community center, and would renew 3 existing community centers. So that would be the lion's share of the money. $300 million would go in to upgrade our fields to turf, so we could get more usage out of our soccer fields and our football fields and our baseball diamonds. And about $50 million of that would be for biodiversity and climate resilience. And that would be primarily dependent on our ability to get some of that federal money for those climate mitigation projects to reinforce things like our seawall.
Okay, Kareem, to say the least, I'm looking forward to the election this fall. Thanks a lot for coming on today.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. That is Kareem Allam. He is running to be the mayor of Vancouver this fall with Vancouver Liberals.